Oh. Wait. 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 It's already gone wrong. What happened to my legs? My legs! Oh no, my legs! Oh no. Oh no, my legs. Oh, they're extra invisible. Wait. Wait. Oh, thank God. They're fixed. Or at least you don't have to stare at them. Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. It seems my legs were invisible. Extra invisible. Yes, indeed, it seems as though the void does haunt us. There we go. Crawling from the bottom of the screen, encapsulating everything in its path. The crawling void slowly eats away, like entropy, dissolving us into a faint hum, until nothing remains but the soft heat death of it all. Hi! Nice to see everyone here. Sorry, I got into that a little bit. Maybe I'm in the mood. Halloween may have passed, but there's always time to be afraid. We're out here. I thought we'd start out here tonight. Out in the deep woods. I should really fix the windows on my cabin. You know, funnily enough, I do. I kept fixing them. And they kept breaking. It's as if something was trying to get inside. The glass was always. But that's the weird thing. The glass is always on the outside. It always sits lightly on the grass. I enter, and the room is as empty as I left it. I take some time, repair those windows, and come back. And the glass always sits outside the cabin. Since then, I felt uncomfortable sleeping in there. What was once a beautiful respite has become something else entirely. Where I once escaped from the mansion, it seems the mansion has crawled toward, not literally, not physically, but metaphysically, making its way across the grassy backyard until its influence is felt even here. You can see it in the sky. You can see them in the sky. But anyways, let's not focus too much on that. We have some horror stories to read. Like I've said, I really want to write my own horror. I'm actually like very... I deeply want to. I just haven't had the time. If anyone has read the description, you will know today we are reading 3 tales of terror. Thank you, Fred. 2 by the very famous and deserved Edgar Allen Poe. The Masque of the Red Death, which I thought I might wish to avoid, as it might hit a little close to home, considering the events of the past couple of years. And The Fall of House of Usher, as well as The Tomb by H.P Lovecraft. Yes, I always love it when I read people's favorites. I actually deeply enjoy that. Well, I love showing you all new things. I also love it when you get to, we get to share in this enjoyment together. I myself am much more, as I read more and more, I'm not going to lie, I'm less of a Lovecraft fan. I'm sorry to all who really enjoy him. He's just so wordy. He just uses all the words. Like he took a dictionary and wasn't allowed to use the same one twice. Except gay, he's allowed to use that one as much as he wants. Which good, I mean, I like the word. Happy, having a good time. But it's just weird. Yeah. He's okay. He's okay. The Tomb is pretty good though, but it still might be the least favorite of my stories tonight. Which means we'll probably do it first. Because The Masque of Red Death is very good, and The Fall of House of Usher is genuinely quite exciting, and I'm very excited to read it. But before we get started into our horrific evening together, I wanted to talk to you all about something I read on the internet that isn't at all spooky. I know I'm ruining the atmosphere with that lovely opening. But do I relate to gay? Yes, I think I'm a very happy person. Anyways, but I wanted to discuss this. Do British people not eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? This one goes out to Illumijay and any other Brits or Europeans we have in the chat right now. Do you all not eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Is that not something that was like that you've eaten your entire life? Is that not a common food? Is that not like the default state of sandwich? Okay, I wasn't alone in this. Other people saw this too and were just as shocked. What are you doing? What do you eat? What are your lunches on like a simple day when you're not that when you don't want to complicate things? It's peanut butter and jelly. It's of the most basic sandwiches that exist. I'm just confused, I guess. Honestly, beans and toast, 100% in the right. 100% in the right. The volume seems good. Beans and toast, 100% in the right. Have you had beans and toast? It's delicious. I eat beans and toast all the time. Like, lunch can be a PB&J, and dinner is beans on toast. But PB&J is amazing. You're all missing out. You Canadians not eat PB&J. Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Yeah, you can mix up the jelly, you can mix up the peanut butter, and oh my god, it's one of those foods that like if you put the time and love into, it pays off. Does that make sense? So like I like to bake my own bread. As well as like make my own jelly, like a sweet little compote on the stove. And even make my own peanut butter. And you can customize it and enjoy it that way. It's delightful. It's delicious. And you can make it taste exactly how you want. And you pre-prepare all the ingredients, and then at any time, you can just have a delicious, perfect little lunch. That's fair to not, you know, if you're not a sandwich guy, I wasn't one for years. In many ways, I'm still not. I'm very, like, weird when it comes to texture, in a sense. Because, oh, I'd love to make that on stream. A handmade, from scratch, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Oh, that'd be so fun. But anyways. What was I saying? In terms of sandwiches, I'm a simple man. I like meat, I like cheese, I like sauce. And sometimes lettuce, but too much vegetables. Like, the texture messes me up. Vegetables in general, like, I have a texture thing with, where if they're cooked, they're slimy. But I like them raw, where you can just chomp into them and they're little crunchy boy. Not lettuce on a PB&J, oh my god. And I'm just meaning sandwiches in general. When I go to, like, a sandwich restaurant, I'll get, like, a pizza sub, and everyone looks at me weirdly when I just get, you know, pizza on my pizza sub, just cheese, sauce, meat. They all think I'm quite strange. But that's just how I like my sandwiches. I like my vegetables on the side. A lovely side of some carrots, you know, some baby carrots are delicious. As well as, you know, like a bell pepper. Ooh, that's the one thing. I do like cooked bell peppers. They're quite delicious. But yeah, on pizza, I'm kind of the same way. I don't like tomatoes or too much vegetables to add that crunchy texture. I don't like that crunchy texture when it's right next to like a soft, chewy texture. Oh, hello, Vern. So nice to have you here. We're getting started soon. I'm just talking about sandwiches for far too long because I've been thinking about sandwiches. Look, British people can't come for PB&J. They can't. It's not allowed. They eat fries on bread. They call it a chippy or a chipwich. Right? That's what they do. That's what they eat. They're not allowed to come for any American sandwich. That's illegal. That's upsetting. Sorry, that's just been living rent-free in my mind all morning. And I've had to talk about it. Because how dare? Always coming for our American food. It's delicious. We have so many gyms for a reason. Fat, salt, and carbs are good. Still weirded out by the chipwich, though. Do they put ketchup on it? Why wouldn't you just eat fries with ketchup? What could you do? What does it add? What does the bread add? Okay, glad to see some other meat lovers in chat. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't use those words in that way. with my naturally sultry tone. Damn. Okay. Oh, that got me. Anyways, now that we finished the lovely talk about food, I guess now would be the perfect time to say I hope you have your snacks. I hope you're wrapped up in a warm blanket with a cup of hot chocolate. I hope you're cozy and comfortable in a well-lit room. I hope you're as comfortable as you can be, because these terrifying tales will slowly take that away from you as we get deeper and deeper into the night. You will feel yourself grow less and less comfortable as suddenly you begin to wonder, did I feel that hand on my back? Or was it the blanket shifting as I moved? Was that my cat, my dog, or just the house settling? Or was it something far more sinister just outside of my line of sight? Was that a shadow cast on the wall from the street? Or was that shadow coming from something inside the house? You'll begin to feel yourself grow more and more uncomfortable in your own skin as the night goes on and on, as these tales worm into your ears, guided by my delicate tones, and take root in your mind, living there, growing there, and stealing all sense of comfort from you. So I hope you're all comfortable. For now. Because that won't be lasting very long. I guess there's no other way to begin the tale of the Tomb by H.P Lovecraft. In relating the circumstances which have led to my confinement within this refuge for the demented, I'm aware that my present position will create a natural doubt of the authenticity of my narrative. It is an unfortunate fact that the bulk of humanity is too limited in its mental vision to weigh with patience and intelligence those isolated phenomena seen and felt by only a psychologically sensitive few, which lie outside its common experience. Men of broader intellect know that there is no sharp distinction betwixt the real and the unreal, that all things appear as they do only by virtue of the delicate, individual, physical, and mental media through which we are made conscious of them. But the prosaic materialism of the majority condemns as madness the flashes of supersight which penetrate the common veil of obvious empiricism. My name is Jervis Dudley, and from earliest childhood I have been a dreamer and a visionary. Wealthy beyond the necessity of commercial life, and temperamentally unfitted for the formal studies and social recreations of my acquaintances, I have dwelt ever in realms apart from the visible world, spending my youth and adolescence in ancient and little-known books, and roaming the fields and groves of the region near my ancestral home. I do not think that what I read in these books or saw in these fields and groves was exactly what other boys read and saw there. But of this I must say little, since detailed speech would but confirm those cruel slanders upon my intellect, which I sometimes overhear from the whispers of stealthy attendants around me. It is sufficient for me to relate events without analyzing causes. I have said that I dwelt apart from the visible world, but I have not said that I dwelt alone. This no human creature may do. For lacking the fellowship of the living, he inevitably draws upon the companionship of things that are not or no longer living. close by my home, there lies a singular wooded hollow, whose twilight deeps I spend most of my time, reading, thinking, and dreaming. Down its moss-covered slopes, my first steps of infancy were taken, and its grotesquely gnarled oak tree, my first fancies of boyhood were woven. Well, did I come to know the presiding dryads of those trees? And often I have watched their wild dances in the struggling beams of a waning moon. But of those things I must not now speak. I will only tell of the lone tomb in the darkest hillside thickets, the desert tomb of the Hydes, an old and exalted family whose direct descendants had been laid within its black recesses many decades before my birth. The vault to which I refer is of ancient granite, weathered and discolored by the mists and dampness of generations. Excavated back into the hillside, the structure is visible only at the entrance. The door, a ponderous and forbidding slab of stone, hangs upon rusted iron hinges, and is fastened ajar in a queerly sinister way by means of heavy iron chains and padlocks, according to a gruesome fashion of half a century ago. The abode of the race whose scions are here, Nerd, had once crowned the declivity which holds the tomb, but had long since fallen victim to the flames which sprang up from a disastrous stroke of lightning. Of the midnight storm which destroyed this gloomy mansion, the older inhabitants of the region sometimes speak in hushed and uneasy voices, alluding to what they call divine wrath, in a manner that in later years vaguely increased the always strong fascination which I felt for that forest-darkened sepulchre. The only man who had perished, one man only, had perished in the fire. When the last of the Hydes was buried in this place of shade and stillness, the sad urnful of ashes had come from a distant land, to which the family had repaired when the mansion burned down. Not one remains to lay flowers before the granite portal, and few care to brave the depressing shadows which seem to linger strangely above the water-worn stones. I shall never forget the afternoon when I first stumbled upon the half-hidden House of Death. It was midsummer, when the alchemy of nature transmutes the sylvan landscape to one vivid and almost homogeneous mass of green, when the senses are well nigh intoxicated with the surging seas of moist verdure and the subtle, indefinable odors of the soil and vegetation. In such surroundings, the mind loses its perspective. Time and space become trivial and unreal, and echoes of a forgotten prehistoric past beat insistently upon the enthralled consciousness. All day I had been wandering through the mystic groves of the hollow, thinking thoughts I need not discuss, and conversing with things I need not name. In years a child of 10, I had seen and heard many wonders to the throng, and was oddly aged in certain respects. When upon forcing my way between two savage clumps of briars, I suddenly encountered the entrance of the vault. I had no knowledge of what I had discovered. The dark blocks of granite, the door so curiously ajar, and the funeral carvings above the arch aroused me in no associations of mournful or terrible character. Of graves and tombs, I knew and imagined much, but had, on account of my particular temperament, been kept from all personal contact with churchyards and cemeteries. The strange stone house on the woodland slope was to me only a source of interest and speculation. Its cold, damp interior, into which I vainly peered through, the aperture so tantalizingly left, contained for me no hint of death or decay. But in that instant of curiosity was born the madly unreasonable desire which had brought me to this hell of confinement. Spurred on by a voice which must have come from the hideous soul of the forest, I resolved to enter the beckoning gloom. Give me a sec. There we go. I resolved to enter the beckoning gloom, in spite of the ponderous chains which barred my passage. In the waning light of day, I alternately rattled the rusty impediments with a view to throwing the wide stone door, and essayed to squeeze my sight form through the space already provided. But neither plan met with success. At first curious, I was now frantic. And when in the thickening twilight I returned home, I had sworn to the hundreds of gods of the grove that at any cost I would someday force an entrance to the black, chilly depths that seemed to be calling out to me. The physician with the iron-grayed beard, who comes each day to my room, once told a visitor that this decision marked the beginning of a pitiful monomania. But I will leave final judgment to my readers when they have learnt it all. The months following my discovery were spent in futile attempts to force the complicated padlock of the slightly open vault, and in carefully guarded inquiries regarding the nature and history of the structure. With the traditionally receptive ears of a small boy, I learned much through an habitual secretiveness, which caused me to tell no one of my information or my resolve. I swear to VTubers, Casey, when you do that thump, I think someone is knocking at my door. How do you know someone isn't? Anyways, back to the story. It is perhaps worth mentioning that I was not at all surprised or terrified on learning the nature of the vault. My rather original ideas regarding life and death had caused me to associate the cold clay with the breathing body in vague fashion, and I felt the great and sinister family of the burned-down mansion was in some way represented within the stone space I sought to explore. Mumbled tales of the weird rites and godless revels of bygone years in the ancient hall had given me a new and potent interest in the tomb, before whose door I would sit down for hours at a time each day. Once I thrust a candle within the nearly closed entrance. Could see nothing save a flight of damp stone steps leading downward. The odor of the place yet bewitched me. I felt I had known it before, in a past remote beyond all recollection, beyond even my tenancy of the body I now possess. The years after I first beheld the tomb, I stumbled upon a worn, eaten-well translation of Plutarch's Lives in the book-filled attic of my home. Reading the life of Theseus, I was much impressed by that passage telling of a great stone beneath which the boy's hero was to find his tokens of destiny, whether he should become old enough to lift its enormous weight. This legend had the effect of dispelling my keenest impatience to enter the vault, for it made me feel that time was not yet ripe. Later I told myself I should grow to strength and ingenuity which might enable me to unfasten the heavy chain door with ease. But until then, I would do better by conforming to what seemed the will of fate. Accordingly, my watches by the dank portal became less persistent, and much of my time was spent in other, though equally strange, pursuits. I would sometimes rise very quietly in the night, stealing out to walk those churchyards and places of burial from which I had been kept by my parents. What I did there I may not say. for I am now sure of the reality of certain things. But I know that on that day, after such a nocturnal ramble, I would often astonish those about me with my knowledge of topics almost forgotten for many generations. It was after a night like this that I shocked the community with queer conceit about the burial of the rich and celebrated Squire Brewster, a maker of local history who was interred in 1711, whose slate headstone bearing a graven skull and crossbones was slowly crumbling to powder. In a moment of childish imagination, I vowed not only that the undertaker, Goodman Simpson, had stolen the silver-buckled shoes, silken hose, and satin small clothes of the deceased before burial, but that the squire himself, not fully inanimate, had turned twice in his mound-covered coffin the day after interment. But the idea of entering the tomb never left my thoughts, being indeed stimulated by the unexpected geological discovery that my own maternal ancestry possessed at least a slight link with the supposedly extinct family of the Hydes. Last of my paternal race I was, likely the last of this older and more mysterious line. I began to feel that the tomb was mine, and to look forward with hot eagerness to the time when I might pass within that stone door and down those slimy steps in the dark. I now formed the habit of listening very intently at the slightly open portal, choosing my favorite hours of midnight stillness within the odd vigil. By the time I came of age, I had made a small clearing in the thicket before the mold-stained facade of the hillside, allowing the surrounding vegetation to encircle and overhang the space like the walls and the roof of a sylvan bower. The bower was my temple, the fashion door my shrine, and here I would lie outstretched on the mossy ground, thinking strange thoughts and dreaming strange dreams. The night of the first revelation was a sultry one. I must have fallen asleep from fatigue, for it was with a distinct sense of awakening that I heard the voices of those tones and accents I hesitate to speak. Of their quality, I will not speak, but I may say that they present a certain uncanny differences in vocabulary, pronunciation, and mode of utterance. Every shade of New England dialect, from the uncouth syllables of the Puritan colonists to the precise rhetoric of 50 years ago, seems represented in that shadowy colloquy. Though it was only later that I noticed the fact. At the time, indeed, my attention was distracted from this matter by another phenomenon, a phenomenon so fleeting that I could not take oath upon its reality. I barely fancied that as I awoke, a light had been hurriedly extinguished within the sunken sepulchre. I do not think that I was either astounded or panic-stricken, but that I know that I was greatly and permanently changed that night. Upon returning home, I went with much directness to a rotting chest in the attic, wherein I found the key, which next day unlocked with ease the barrier I had so long stormed in vain. It was the soft glow of a late afternoon that I first entered the vault on the abandoned slope. A spell was upon me, and my heart leapt with exultation. I can but ill describe. As I closed the door behind me and descended the dripping steps by the light of my lone candle, I seemed to know the way. And though the candle sputtered with stifling reek of the place, I felt singularly at home within the musty, charnel house air. Looking about me, I beheld many marble slabs bearing coffins, or the remains of coffins. Some of these were sealed and intact, but others had nearly vanished, leaving the silver handles and plates isolated amidst certain curious heaps of whitest dust. Upon one plate I read the name of Sir Geoffrey Hyde, who had come from Sussex in 1640 and died here a few years later. In a conspicuous alcove was one fairly well-preserved and untenanted casket, adorned with a single name which brought to me both a smile and a shudder. An odd impulse caused me to climb upon the broad slab, extinguish my candle, and lie down in the vacant box. In the gray light of dawn, I staggered from the vault and locked the chain of the door behind me. I was no longer a young man, though but 21 winters had chilled my bodily frame. Early rising visitors who observed my homeward progress looked at me strangely and marveled at the signs of ribald revelry, which they saw in one whose life was known to be sober and solitary. I did not appear before my parents till long after a refreshing sleep. Henceforward, I haunted the tomb each night, seeing, hearing, and doing things I must never reveal. My speech, always susceptible to environmental influences, was the first thing to succumb to the change, and suddenly acquired an archaism of diction which was soon remarked upon. Later, a queer boldness and recklessness came to my demeanor, till I unconsciously grew to possess the bearing of a man of the world, despite my lifelong seclusion. My life formed silent, tongue-waxed voluble, with the easy grace of a Chesterfield or the godless cynicism of a Rochester. I displayed a peculiar erudition, utterly unlike the fantastic monkish lore which I have pored over in youth, and covered the fly-leaves of my books with facile impromptu epigrams which brought up suggestions of Gay, Prior, and the sprightliest of the Augustan wits and rhymesters. One morning at breakfast, I came close to disaster by declaiming in a palpably liquorous accent of effusion of the 18th century bacchanalian mirth, a bit of Georgian playfulness, never recorded in a book, which ran something like this. Come hither, my lads, with your tankards of ale, and drink to the present before it shall fail. Pile each on your platter a mountain of beef, for 'tis eating and drinking that bring us relief. So fill up your glasses, for life will soon pass. When you're dead, you'll ne'er drink to your king or your lass. Anacreon had a red nose, so they say, but what's a red nose if you're happy and gay? God split me, I'd rather be red whilst I'm here than white as a lily and dead in half a year. So Betty, my miss, come give me a kiss. In hell there's no innkeeper's daughter like this. Young Harry propped just as straight as he's able will soon lose his wig and slip under the table. But fill up your goblets and pass 'em around. Better under the table than under the ground. So revel in shaft and as ye thirsty croft. Under 6 feet dirt, 'tis easy to laugh. And fiends strike me blue, I'm scared to walk, and damn me if I can't stand upright or talk. Your landlord bid Betty summon a chair. I'll try for home, for my wife is not there, so lend me a hand. I'm not able to stand, but I'm gay whilst I linger on top of the land. About this time I conceived my present of fire and thunderstorm. Previously indifferent to some things, I now had an unspeakable horror of them, and would retire to the innermost recesses of the house whenever the heavens threatened electrical display. A favorite haunt of mine during the day was the ruined cellar of the mansion that had burned down. In fancy, I would picture the structure as it had been in its prime. On one occasion, I exalted a visitor by leading him confidently to the shallow sub-cellar, of whose existence I seemed to know in spite of the fact I had been unseen and forgotten for many generations. At last came that which I had long feared. My parents, alarmed at the altered manner of my appearance of their only son, commenced to exert over my movements a kindly espionage which threatened to result in disaster. I had told no one of my visits to the tomb. Having guarded my secret purpose with religious zeal since childhood, but now I was first forced to exercise care in threading the mazes of the wooded hollow that I might throw off a possible pursuer. My key to the vault, which I kept suspended from a cord above my neck, its presence known only to me, I never carried out of the sepulchre any of the things I came upon whilst within its walls. One morning, as I emerged from the damp tomb and fastened the chain of the portal, with none too steady hand, I beheld in adjacent thicket the dreaded face of a watcher. Surely the end was near, for my bower was discovered, and the objective of my eternal journeys revealed. The man did not accost me, so I hastened home in an effort to overhear what he might report to my careworn father. Were my sojourns beyond the chained door about to be proclaimed to the world? Imagine my delighted astonishment upon hearing the spy inform my parents in a cautious whisper that I had spent the night in the bower outside the tomb, my sleep-filled eyes fixed upon the crevice which the padlock portal stood ajar. But what miracle the watcher had thus deluded! I was now convinced that a supernatural agency protected me. Made bold by this heaven-sent circumstance, I began to resume the perfect openness in going into the vault, confident that no one could witness my entrance. For a week I tasted to the full the joys of that charnel conviviality which I must not describe when the thing happened. And I was borne away to this accursed abode of sorrow and monotony. Blah. I should not have ventured out that night, for the taint of thunder was in the clouds, and the hellish phosphorus rose from the rank swamp at the bottom of the hollow. The call of the dead, too, was different. Instead of the hillside tomb, it was the charred cellar on the crest of the slope whose presiding daemon had beckoned me with unseen fingers. As I emerged from an intervening grove upon the plain before the ruin, I beheld in the misty moonlight a thing I had always vaguely expected. The mansion, gone for a century, once more reared its stately height to the raptured vision, every window ablaze with the splendor of many candles. Up the long drive rolled the coaches of Boston gentry, while on foot came a numerous assemblance of powdered exquisites from neighborhood mansions. Within this throng I mingled. I knew I belonged with the hosts rather than the guests. Inside the hall were music, laughter, and wine on every hand. Several faces I recognized, though I should have known them better had they been shriveled or eaten away by death or decomposition. Amidst a wide and reckless throng, I was the wildest and most abandoned. Gay blasphemy poured in torrents from my lips. I know what that's like. And in my shocking sallies, I heeded no law of God, man, or nature. Suddenly, a peal of thunder, resonant even above the dim, swinish revelry, clave the roof and thayed a hush of fear upon the boisterous company. Red tongues of flame and searing gusts of heat engulfed the house, and the roisters, struck with terror at the descent of a calamity which seemed to transcend the bounds of unguided nature, fled, shrieked into the night. I alone remained, riveted to my seat by a groveling fear which I had never before felt, and in a second horror took possession of my soul. Burnt alive to ashes, my body dispersed by the four winds. I might never lie in the tomb of hides. Was my coffin not prepared for me? Had I not rested till eternity amongst the descendants of Sir Geoffrey Hyde? I would claim my heritage of death, even though my soul goes seeking through the ages for another corporeal tenant to represent it on that vacant slab in the alcove of the vault. Jervis Hyde should never share the sad fate of Palinurus. As the phantasm of the house faded, I found myself screaming and struggling madly in the arms of two men whom I was the spy, who had followed me in the tomb. Rain was pouring down in torrents, and upon the southern horizon were flashes of the lightning that had so lately passed over our heads. My father, his face lined with sorrow, stood by as I shouted my demands to be laid within the tomb, frequently admonishing my captors to treat me as gently as they could. A blackened circle on the floor of the ruined cellar told me of the violent stroke from the heavens, and from this spot, a group of curious villagers with lanterns were prying a small box of antique workmanship which the thunderbolt had brought to light. Ceasing my futile, and now objectless writhing, I watched the spectators as they viewed the treasure trove and was permitted to share in their discoveries. The box, whose fastenings were broken by the stroke which had unearthed it, contained many papers and objects of value. But I had an eye for only one thing alone. It was the porcelain miniature of a young man in a smartly curled bag wig and bore the initials J.H. The face was such that I gazed. I might as well have been studying my mirror. On the following day, I brought to this room with the barred windows, but I have kept informed of certain things through an aged and simple-minded servitor for whom I bore a fondness in infancy, and who likes me in the churchyard. What I have dared relate of my experiences within the vault has brought only pitying smiles. My father, who visits me frequently, declares that at no time did I pass the chained portal, and swears the rusty padlock had not been touched for 50 years when he examined it. He even says that all the village know of my journeys to the tomb, and that I was often watched as I slept in the bower outside the grim facade, my half-open eyes fixed on the crevice that leads into the interior. Against these assertions, I have no tangible proof to offer, since my key to the padlock was lost in the struggle of that night of horrors. The things of the past which I had learned during these nocturnal meetings with the dead he dismisses as fruits of my lifelong and omnivorous browsing amongst ancient volumes of the family library. Had it not been for my old servant, Hiram, I should not by this time have become quite convinced of my madness. But Hiram, loyal to the last, has held faith in me, and has done that which impels me to make public at least part of my story. A week ago, he bust open the lock which changed the door of the tomb perpetually ajar, and descended with a lantern into its murky depths. On a slab in an alcove, he found an old but empty coffin, whose tarnished plate bears the single word, Jervis. In that coffin, and in that vault, they have promised me I shall be buried. And that is the end of The Tomb by H.P. Lovecraft. Did everyone enjoy it? I hope everyone enjoyed it. I had quite a bit of fun reading it. But it's, once again, not my favorite. Like I said, there's something about Lovecraft which is just... the man must have been rich. He only uses $5 words. You know what I mean? Sometimes it can be a bit, I think, distracting from the horror when you're trying to... I don't know. I tried my best to make it easy to listen to, because I think Lovecraft can sometimes be a little draining. But, I don't know. I think his cosmic horror reads better. Yeah, sometimes it's okay to use the smaller words. And that's why I like Poe. He uses a blend. Sorry, I have to kind of relax for a bit. I get a bit of a head rush reading that long and reading aloud. That, and I need a thorough drink of my iced tea. Some of them feel very purposeful, like he's trying to distance the audience from the narrator. He's trying to put them in an entirely separate headspace as they read their thoughts. Iced tea, disgusting. What? You hate iced tea? How do you hate iced tea? It's sweet tea. Sorry, I always say iced tea, but I guess I mean sweet tea. It's delicious sweet tea. Yeah, it's sweet tea. Oh yeah, you Southerners always call it, sweet tea instead of iced tea. You only drink hot sweet tea. Ooh, I think that's called an Arnold Palmer, and they're delicious. I love how passionate people from the South are about sweet tea. I did see your comment about cryptids, and I would love to read about cryptids. If you have any suggestions, like, you can send me links. I actually want to read what people want to hear. Thus far, I've been choosing stories, you know, that I think people would like, or that fit neatly within my little time zone. Well, not my little time zone, but my little time frame. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. But I'd love to take recommendations or suggestions. So please, if you have something you'd like me to read, tweet it at me. Hit me with a little @. I'm more than receptive to it. Another one I want to read on stream very soon is some of Stephen King's short stories. Stephen King can be a bit of a weird one. Especially with how he ends his pieces sometimes. Nothing more famous than a... No, thank you, Psycho. Anyways, King is very famous with his stories because I don't think that man knows how to end a story. He's done it a handful of times, and I fully believe it's on accident. He's so good at starting them. They're so fascinating. They're enrapturing with their details and genuinely, like, you almost universally hateable characters. I kind of love that all his characters are just disgusting. They're gross. They're little gremlin people. They're quite testable. And then he finds a way to bring horror to the Midwest. He's truly a pioneer in regards to truly American folkloric horror. And there's nothing I love more than folklore and the horror of American folklore. The actual ending of it is crazy, and that's not weird for him. The more of his books you read, the more you realize that, I'm not going to lie, the man has a billion hits under his belt. He's a brilliant writer, but his endings are so fucking whack. That being said, his short stories tend to be a little cleaner and really good. I actually did a bit of a study in horror, and I got some amazing recommendations. And one of the pieces I studied was Children of the Corn. And Children of the Corn is something I deeply want to read on stream. I never realized how much I love that story. Oh, I saw Chia Tien in chat. I was very excited to see Chia Tien in chat. I'm excited to see everyone in chat, but I'm very excited. And I'm excited for everyone in chat, always, honestly. Your voice is so nice. I'd love to hear you read the ingredients on a cereal box. Oh. Oh God, I am not reading a FNAF book. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm never going to read a video game book. I have like a policy about that. I don't know. I think the only ones I would actually read aren't technically video game books, but the Witcher novels, because the game is from the books. But yes, I don't know. Okay, as someone who may or may not have done some work as a writer in the past, I know how poorly the people who have to write video game books are treated. Like, they're very abused. It's really sad. It's just that kind of media that ends up being like pumped out. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you get something amazing. Like, I understand some of the Halo novels are like genuinely phenomenal. But a lot of times the writers are underpaid and given weird parameters, and communication is rough just because it's given to publishing companies that, yeah. So I don't know, as a writer I take it personally. I mean, maybe as a writer, I may or may not be a writer in my spare time. No comment. Can I claim that? Am I allowed to talk about that? No comment. But I promise no one's read any of my hypothetical work. It's not exactly huge. I promise I'm not secretly a New York Times bestseller. I am humble. What can I say? I'm involved in the arts. Anyways. I think that one was a little long. So I think we should do the Masque of Red Death next. I am very lucky. I am very lucky as a person. It was a lot of work in general, but I'm also kind of lucky. Don't worry though, I am poor. That is my nature. As I said on debut, everyone, I operate on the extremes. I'm very what do you call it? Can't remember the word. Too many words going through my head. Either way. Yeah. Very. You see, the thing is, I'm very poor, but I still have the horrible habit of ordering food for delivery. It's a dark habit to have. Because, like, I have a car. It would take 5 minutes of my time. Just 5. Sometimes not even. can take public transit. It's quick here. I can get anywhere I need and eat anything I want. In no time at all. Instead, though, I'll spend an extra $20 to sit on my couch for 15 minutes. It's the most expensive 15 minutes of my life. Oh, ordering food. Sorry. And like, I could cook. I could cook. I have food in the fridge. And it wouldn't take that long. In fact, I'd enjoy it. I would enjoy the act of cooking. I could put on a lovely TV show. Or a song and dance in the kitchen as I make food. But instead, I know I'm going to order pizza and Chinese food, and I'm going to pay double the price of which I should. It's a horrible habit, everyone. Don't start ordering food for delivery. Don't do it. It's bad for you. It's addicting. Sorry, I got on a huge tangent there. Gas prices do suck, yes. They and the thing is, whenever they rise, you know they're staying up there. They'll drop them like 20 cents. And then they'll be like, oh, gas prices are dropping. But they rose by $1. They're still way more expensive than they were. He can cook, he can clean, and he knows. I know book? Is that what the blank is? Ooh, cabin tour. Oh, that's such a good idea, Bald Megamind Ren. Oh, I would love to take you inside the cabin. Right there. Hopefully you don't mind the windows. They're a little broken, so the breeze sometimes passes in. It gets cold in there. Very cold. We might have to get close to warm up. But don't worry, I have blankets and a big comfy couch. We just have to get close. Cuddle up together to stay warm. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the tomb. Oh. I love how tsundere everyone is. Is there a way to make chat automatically display that everyone says baka at the end of their sentences? If there is, I'm doing it. Anyways. Without further ado, under the watchful eye of the spectators in the mountains and in the sky, under the crescent moon, with the fire burning beside us, I bring you The Masque of Red Death by Edgar Allen Poe. The Red Death. Sorry, I'll restart. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal. The redness and the horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness, and then profuse bleeding from the pores with the solution. The scarlet stains upon the body, and especially upon the face of the victim, were the pest ban which shut him out from the aid and sympathy of his fellow man. and the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless, and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his court, and with these retired to the deep seclusion of one of his castellated abbeys. There was an extensive and magnificent structure, the creation of the princess's own eccentric yet august taste. A strong and lofty wall girdled it. This wall had gates of iron. The courtiers, having entered, brought furnaces and massy hammers, and welded the bolts. They resolved to leave means neither of ingress nor egress to the sudden impulse of despair or frenzy from within. The abbey was amply provisioned. With such precautions, the courtiers might bid defiance to contagion. The external world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was folly to grieve or to think. The prince had provided all the appliances of pleasure. There were buffoons. There were improvisatori. There were ballet dancers. There were musicians. There was beauty. There was wine. All these and security were within. Without was the Red Death. It was toward the close of the 5th or 6th month of his seclusion, and while the prestige raged most furiously abroad, that the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual magnificence. It was a voluptuous scene, that masquerade. But first, let me tell you of the rooms in which it was held. There were 7, an imperial suite. In many palaces, however, such suites form a long and straight vista, while the folding doors slide back nearly to the walls on either hand, so that the view of the whole extent is scarcely impeded. Here the case was very different. As might have been expected from the Duke's love of the bizarre, the apartments were so irregularly disposed that the vision embraced little more than one at a time. There was a sharp turn at every 20 or 30 yards, and at each turn a novel effect. To the right and left, in the middle of each wall, a tall and narrow Gothic window looked out upon a closed corridor which pursued the windings of the suite. These windows were of stained glass, whose color varied in accordance with the prevailing hue of the decorations of the chamber into which it opened. Thus, at the eastern extremity was hung, for example, in blue, and vividly blue were its windows. The second chamber was purple in its ornaments and tapestries, and here the panes were purple. The third was green throughout, and so were the casements. The fourth was furnished and lighted with orange, the 5th with white, the 6th with violet. The 7th apartment was closely shrouded in black velvet tapestries that hung over the ceiling and down the walls, falling in heavy folds upon the carpet, of which the same material and hue. But in this chamber, only the color of the windows failed to correspond with the decorations. The panes were scarlet, a deep blood color. Now in no one of these 7 apartments were there any lamp or candelabrum amid the profusion of golden ornaments that lay scattered to and fro, or depended from the roof. There was no light of any kind emanating from a lamp or candle within the suite or chambers, but in the corridors that followed the suite there stood, opposite to each window, a heavy tripod bearing a brazier of fire that projected its rays through the tinted glass, and so glaringly illuminated the room. And thus were produced a multitude of gaudy and fantastical appearances. But in the western or black chamber, the effect of the firelight that streamed upon the dark hangings through the blood-tinted panes was ghastly in the extreme, and produced so wild a look upon the countenances of those who entered that there were few of the company bold enough to set foot within its precincts at all. It was in this apartment also that there stood against the western wall a gigantic clock of ebony. Its pendulum swung to and fro with a dull, heavy, monotonous clang, and when the minute hand made the circuit of the face and the hour was to be stricken, there came from the brazen lungs of the clock a sound which was so clear and loud and deep and exceedingly musical, but of so peculiar a note and emphasis that at each lapse of an hour the musicians of the orchestra, who were constrained to pause momentarily in their performance to hearken the sound, and thus the waltzers perforce ceased their evolutions, and there was a brief disconcert in the whole gay company. And while the chimes of the clock yet rang, it was observed that the giddiest grew pale, and the more aged and sedate passed their hands over the brows as if in confused revelry or meditation. But when the echoes had fully ceased, a light laughter at once pervaded the assembly. The musicians looked to each other and smiled, as if at their own nervousness and folly, and made whispering vows to each other at the next chiming of the clock should produce them no similar emotion. And then, after the lapse of 60 minutes, which embraced 3,600 seconds of that time that flies, came another chiming of the clock. And then, with the same disconcert and tremulousness and meditation as before. But in spite of these things, it was a gay and magnificent revel. The tastes of the Duke were peculiar. He had a fine eye for colors and effects. He disregarded the decora of mere fashion. His plans were bold and fiery, and his conceptions glowed with barbaric luster. There are some who have thought him mad. His followers felt that he was not. It was necessary to see and hear and touch him to be sure that he was not. He had directed, in great part, the movable embellishments of the seven chambers, upon occasion of this great fete, and it was his own guiding taste which had given character to the masquerades. Be sure they were grotesque. There were much glare and glitter and piquancy and phantasm, much of what has been seen in Hernani. There were Arabesque fights with the unsuited limbs and appointments. There were delirious fancies, such as the madman fashions. There was much of the beautiful, much of the wanton, much of the bizarre, and something of the terrible. And not a little of that which might have excited disgust. To and fro in the seven chambers there stalked, in fact, a multitude of dreams, and these, the dreams, writhed in and about, taking hue from the rooms and causing the wild music of the orchestra to seem as the echo of their steps. And anon there strike the ebony clock which stands in the hall of velvet, and there, for a moment, all is still, all is silent, save for the voice of the clock. The dreams are stiff, frozen as they stand. The echoes of that chime die away. They have endured but an instant, and a light, half-subdued laughter floats away as after them as they depart. And now, again the music swells, and the dreams live and writhe to and fro, more merrily than ever, taking hue from the many tinted windows which stream the rays from the tripod. To this chamber, which lies most westward of the seven, there are none but the maskers who venture. The night is waning away, and there flows a ruddier light through the blood-colored panes, and the blackness of the sable drapery appalls. And to him whose foot fall upon the sable carpet, there comes the near clock of an ebony, a muffled peal, more solemnly emphatic than any which reaches their ears who can indulge in the more remote gaieties of other apartments. But those other apartments were just densely crowded, and in them feverishly beat the heart of life. And the revel went whirringly on, until at length there commenced the sounding of midnight upon the clock, and then the music ceased, as I have told, and the evolutions of the waltzers were quieted. There was an uneasy cessation of all things before. But now there were 12 strokes to be sounded by the bell of the clock. And thus it happened, perhaps, that more of thought crept, with more of time, into the meditations of the thoughtful among those who reveled. And thus too it happened, perhaps, that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sunk into the silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who had found leisure to become aware of the presence of the masked figure which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. And rumor of this new presence having spread itself whisperingly around, there arose at length from the whole company a buzz or murmur, expressive disapprobation and surprise. Then, finally, of terror, of horror, and of disgust. In an assembly of phantasms such as I have painted, it may well be supposed that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masquerade license of the night was nearly unlimited. The figure in question had out-Heroded Herod, and gone beyond the bounds of even the prince's infinite decorum. There are chords in the hearts of the most reckless, which cannot be touched without emotion, even with the utterly lost, to whom life and death are equal jests. There are matters of which no jest can be made. The whole company, indeed, seemed now deeply to feel that this costume and bearing of the stranger neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt and shrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of the grave. The mask which concealed the visage was so nearly to resemble the countenance of a stiffened corpse that at the closest scrutiny must have had difficulty in detecting the cheat. And yet, all this might have endured, if not approved, by the mad revelers around. But as the murmur had gone so far to assume the type of the Red Death, his vesture was dabbled in blood, and the broad brow, with all the features of his face was sprinkled with the scarlet horror. When the eyes of Prince Prospero fell upon his spectral image, with a slow and solemn movement, as if more fully to sustain its role, stalked to and fro amongst the waltzers. He was seen to be convulsed in the first movement with a strong shudder of either terror or distaste, but in the next his brow reddened with rage. "Who dares?" he demanded hoarsely of the courtiers who stood near him. "Who dares insult us with this blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him so that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise for the battlements." It was the eastern or blue chamber in which stood the Prince Prospero as he uttered these words. They rang throughout the 7 rooms loudly and clearly, for the prince was a bold and robust man, and the music had become hushed at the waving of his hand. I was in the blue room, where stood the prince with a group of pale courtiers by his side. At first he spoke. There was a slight rushing movement of this group in the direction of the intruder, who at the moment was near at hand, but now with deliberate and stately step made closer to approach the speaker. But from a certain nameless awe with which the mad assumptions of the mummer had escaped had inspired the whole party, there were none who put forth hand to seize him, so that unimpeded he passed within a yard of the prince's person. And while the vast assembly, as if with one impulse, shrank from the center of the room to the walls, he made his way uninterruptedly, but with the same solemn and measured step which had distinguished him from the first, through the blue chamber, to the purple, to the purple, to the green to the orange, and this again to the white, and even thence to the violet. Ere a decided movement had been made to arrest him. It was then, however, that Prince Prospero, maddening with rage and the shame of his own momentary cowardice, rushed hurriedly through the 6 chambers, while none followed him on account of a deadly terror that had seized upon them all. He bore aloft a drawn dagger, and had approached in rapid impetuosity to within 3 or 4 feet of the retreating figure, when the latter, having attained the extremity of the velvet apartment, turned suddenly and confronted his pursuer. There was a sharp cry, and the dagger dropped gleaming upon the sable carpet, upon which instantly afterwards fell prostrate in the death of Prince Prospero. Then, summoning the wild courage of despair, a throng of the revelers at once threw themselves into the black apartment, and seizing the murmur, those whose tall figures stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock, gasped in unutterable horror at finding the grave cerements and corpse-like mask which they handed with so violently a rudeness and untenanted by any tangible form. And now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died, each in the despairing posture of his fall, and the life of the ebony clock went out with that last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired, and darkness and decay, and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all. I hope everyone enjoyed that one. I personally like it quite a bit. It's, maybe it hits a little close to home since, things have happened to the world. All that story needs is everyone at the party singing a cover of John Lennon's Imagine, and, you know, could have been made today. Is that... No, everyone hated that. That's... I think everyone hated that. I don't think one person on Earth enjoyed that. Oh. Well, have a good sleep, Ren. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Oh, good. It's good to want to wake up gay. You'll be in a good mood. It'll be a beautiful day. It'll be a gay day. Oh, Shade Sable. Hello, hello. Nice to see you here. Have you been talking thus far? I hadn't seen you. I don't think I saw you in chat before this moment. Either way, nice to have you. Feeling good. Feeling relaxed. This, weirdly enough, is our longest story, and I feel as though it's going to take a while. Yes, it will. So, before we start this one, I really do encourage everyone to take the moment. I'm going to speak lightly before we start our next tale, but I encourage everyone in the means to enjoy a snack. Get yourself comfy once again. Make a quick batch of popcorn. Oh, no problem. No need to be sorry. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Sometimes I feel like I get lost in saying the words that I kind of lose their meaning, if that makes sense. So I hope it still imparts the actual, plot and it just doesn't come across as word vomit. But anyways, I actually had a question for everyone about popcorn. What is everyone's favorite popcorn methods? Because there's a lot out there. I feel like popcorn has really expanded in the last 20 years or so. I remember 20 years ago, popcorn was just a microwave thing. And maybe Jiffy Pop, you know? But nowadays, it feels like popcorn is like an artisanal food. Puffin corn? Puffin corn? What is puffin corn? I'm looking that up. I don't know what that is. Oh, like, what is this? Oh my god, I've had this. I haven't had this in years. I've only ever had the one flavor, which was the boring one. It was definitely like a Chester's product. I can't remember what it was called or what the flavor was. That looks delicious. I'd eat that right now. Like a nice cheese or like a spicy chili one. That sounds... Oh, I'm making myself hungry. Oh, I'm so hungry. Oh, hello! I never remember how to say your name. Pangani or Pangani? I'm gonna go with Pangani today. You know what? I'm going to say it a different time every time. Angani. Yes. It's like a cheese puff, kind of, but it has a slightly different texture. There actually is like a light difference between like cheese puffs and puffin corn, in the sense that puffin corn easily and almost instantly dissolves upon your tongue like snow upon the stove. I have popcorn upstairs. But yes, yeah, no, it feels like popcorn has a million different ways. My favorite technique is the stovetop. I like stovetop popcorn. That's pretty much the only way I make it now. I'll take a big metal bowl or a wok. A wok actually works brilliantly for popcorn. I think it's an underrated popcorn cooking vessel. I'm not going to lie. It has a little bit too flat a bottom to be entirely efficient, but I think it's still very efficient, especially if you don't have a big metal bowl. But you take a big metal bowl, and there's a few ways to do this. I find it's you balance to your flavor, but you take half a cup of popcorn, and then you grab, I'll usually grab either ghee or coconut oil as my frying oil of choice for popcorn. I like both quite a bit, but honestly a blend of the two also comes out delightful. I think pure ghee leads to an overwhelming flavor because ghee has a very distinct taste, which can almost overpower the flavor of the popcorn itself. But a blend of ghee and coconut oil leads to a balance. It depends if you want to put butter on it too. I know some people don't like butter on their popcorn, and if you're using ghee, it really does not need it. And then you'll want some, I also use a little bit. No, I don't usually just put a bunch of corn in my mouth and then hold it close to heat. Have to try that next time. But yes, and then I'll take a bit of flavacol, which is that butter salt. I think someone brought that up. The butter salt. Yes, the salt movie butter, whatever that is. Yeah. It's like this butter flavored salt, and it's quite good. It's what movie theaters use. And you'll sprinkle, I don't know, like a quarter teaspoon. It's very strong. It's very strong. It's very strong. So you don't need much to flavor an entire batch. And then you'll put that all in your metal bowl or wok, put it upon the stove, and you'll want to keep it moving. Oh, wait, before that, you'll take a sheet of aluminum foil, cover it, poke some holes in the top, and you've now made your own popcorn popper, which actually works very similarly to the ones they use at movie theaters. Yes, the wok method. I like using a wok. But a big metal bowl also works. They produce slightly different flavors, with the wok producing a slight more smokiness to the popcorn. But it's all about taste, I find. You'll cover it with aluminum foil. You'll want like the extra wide kind. Because that's what it'll take to cover your bowl properly. Which I recommend you get if you cook anyways, the extra wide aluminum foil. It's just better. It's more convenient. Seriously. And you'll keep it moving on the burner. If you have those electrical burners, the ones that are like a little coil, this method is hard. I'm not going to lie. The scratching sound is so much. But if you have like a smooth glass top. Oh, if you have an induction, I don't know if this actually works. I've never tried this on an induction. So best of luck to you. But if you have a gas or a smooth glass top, this works very well. You'll keep the popcorn moving as it goes. It's very loud. Don't do this too late at night. You'll wake up everyone in your house if you live with anyone. You'll keep the popcorn in motion, and then eventually it'll start to pop. The bowl should handle half a cup relatively well without overfilling. Wait until you stop hearing it pop. Always be shaking. I recommend oven mitts for that because the bowl can get quite hot. And then you'll have a delicious bowl of popcorn. And the best part, if you let the bowl cool, you can eat out of the bowl you made it in. And you've only dirtied one dish. It works every time. And it's the best popcorn I've ever managed to make. Yeah, this is in my opinion. And the thing is, the method is transferable. Like, don't use Jiffy Pop. That stuff is difficult. I've never not burned Jiffy Pop. But if you take some kernels, a bowl, which can be used for multiple things, and some aluminum foil, as well as, a little baggie with your salt and your, other things. What are the other things? Oh yeah, your oils. You can make this in the woods, over a fire, because it's just about heat and keeping the popcorn moving. The heat itself, you'll probably want it medium to medium high. Everyone's stove is different, so you'll have to feel it out. I like to turn my stove on to high to get it nice and warm, and then bring it down a bit as I put the popcorn on it. If you're starting the stove from cold when you start this, when you hear the first popcorn kernel pop, that's when you can start shaking. You should shake it a couple times before that, just to keep things moving and avoid burning. But yes, it'll take like 5 minutes. I'm going to make it right after this, and it's delicious. I really should do a cooking stream. You missed the first 2 tales, The Tomb and Masque of the Red Death. But now we're moving on to the fall of House of Usher, which is the longest of our tales for this delightful evening. Once again by Edgar Allen Poe, and I'm very excited for it. It's actually as long as the first 2 combined, meaning this is a long stream. I still have to make lunch. That's fine. Today for lunch, can I share what I'm making? Can I tell you? I'm actually very excited. Today I'm not ordering food. Actually, you can tell I'm hungry because I keep talking about food. Oh wait, Jay, you're here. I can bring this up with you. Good. Before we get into my lunch plans, do you not eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches over there? Is that not a thing? In the Britons? Do you not eat those? Peanut butter and jelly. People on Twitter, British people, were reacting like that was an insane thing. But it's like a staple of lunch here. Okay, so it wasn't entirely insane. Do you guys think it's crazy? Oh, that's why. Do you eat peanut butter and jam over there? Is that a thing? Have you ever had this sandwich? I'm very invested. Oh, that's fair. Oh yeah, you've said you hate peanut butter before. My apologies. I can't believe I forgot that. Usually I'm so sorry. I try to remember that kind of detail. No, it doesn't sound like it's a normal thing. Okay, but I have another question, sandwich related. Have you ever eaten a chip sandwich? Is that a real thing? Or is that a meme that they make up? Because I know chips are fries. Have you ever eaten a French fry sandwich? Yes, just chips. I've seen this online, and I thought it was fake. They call it a chippy butt, or something like that. A chippy butt. I think that's what it's called. It's called a chip butt. A chippy butt. A good old chippy butt. See? I told you all it was real. A butt chippy. I don't know. I think it's called something like that. I'm going to look this up. Chippy butt. Oh, a chip butty. That's what it's called. A chip buddy. A chip buddy. Wait. I'm pulling an image off the internet and showing everyone. Will this show up properly? It didn't work. Give me a sec. I'm pulling an image off the internet of this insanity. I feel like I have to share it because it's insane to me. There we go. That will come on. Look at this. Look at what they eat. Wait, I have to add it as an image, don't I? I'm pulling it up. You all have to see this. Look at that. Look at that. Look at this. Look at what they eat. Oh. Look at this. They make fun of American food. Illumijay, I swear I'm not coming for you. I would try this. I would try this. See, British people are not allowed to talk about American food ever again. I'm coming for the British in general. As you've probably noticed by now, I have a mild war with the British. I think it's in my nature. I want to fight the British. But that should be a huge compliment to you, Jay. I like you despite the fact you're British. It doesn't hurt my opinion of you. I forgive you. Classism? Excuse me. British people look at American food and call it fat and grotesque and swimming in grease. Not yet realizing that those foods are the cheapest. It's classism on both sides. I refuse to accept that. It's insane. We're both eating... We're both sides. Let's be honest. Both sides are eating garbage. America's food is fun. It's very creative. Look, if you haven't had a Reese's peanut butter cup, dipped in funnel cake batter and deep fried, you have not lived. You've not lived. Also, Psycho's right. was 100% right. Oh, Oreos deep fried are so good. Chocolate bars, anything deep fried is delicious. I saw someone deep fried jerky, and I'm tempted. No, but in America, the fattiest foods are the cheapest. It's actually true. It is easier to feed a family with McDonald's than it is with a grocery store, especially nowadays. Not to mention all of the prefab frozen meals. Oh, beans on toast are so good. You guys absolutely nailed beans on toast. Beans on toast are delicious. I'm gonna get rid of the chippy butt. How do I get rid of it? It won't leave. There we go. There we go. Actually, in America, McDonald's is not expensive to feed a whole family with at all. If you actually look at how much it costs, there's actually a couple of really good documentaries on this that I recommend, and it is cheaper, especially when you take into the account the time considerations. Yeah, McDonald's in America is a different level of cheap. It is beyond understandable. Fast food in general in America is ridiculously cheap. Same with frozen, unhealthy foods. Each country sort of has what food comes cheaply, and people so often attack those foods, which I'm personally not a fan of. Casserole is good, and people make fun of casserole. But it's an amazing, incredibly cheap method of creating a lot of food very easily and very fast. But yeah, see? Look in chat. It's like the yeah, chat, casserole. I got my southern man. Oh wait. Casserole is a layered dish. It is usually, I feel like I have to look up the definition to get it right. Yes, so it's basically a kind of stew cooked slowly in an oven, is what the internet says. But that doesn't really capture it. It's usually like a 3-ingredient thing with a soup, a meat, and something to top it with. Like tater tots are often used, or like cheese are often used. Like a tuna casserole. Or like, I saw one recently that looked pretty good. Oh, often with some kind of starch in it as well. So like tuna soup with noodles topped with like tater tots would actually be a casserole. And all of the ingredients are prefab, super easy. Well, see, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Everyone looks at like the chip buddy and goes, ugh. But it's just because they didn't grow up with it. Same with casserole. If you didn't grow up with it, it takes some adjusting. Or even like so many of like Appalachian traditional foods, which I think is like a field within cooking that is going to have like a lot happening very soon. Oh, I get that. That's fine. Yeah, everyone has their own food preferences. You know what I mean? But yeah. that wasn't bad, Fred. But yeah. Yeah, I think actually what is seen as like low-class cooking will see sort of a revamp in the next couple of years as it's, I don't know, gentrification, but for food, which is a damn shame because it's already starting. Sweet tea, Southern sweet tea, is a tradition that goes back a long way, and it was attempted to be sold to the world in a cheap form. No one but the South knows sweet tea. And I'll say that with utter confidence that no one but the South truly knows sweet tea. But I think in a few years we'll start to see more mass production that actually manages to capture something a little bit more authentic. Milo's is already a good example. If anyone's ever had Milo's tea, I do believe that's most Southern people's opinion of the best mass-produced sweet tea. And it's starting to make its way out of the South. Yeah, it's close. And it's starting to make its way up out of the South into the North. And I mean, we already see this with fucking barbecue. Jesus Christ. Sorry. I have strong opinions on barbecue, and that strong opinion is that no restaurant that sells anything other than just barbecue can do barbecue. You either do barbecue or you don't. I'm tired of seeing a rack of ribs inserted on a menu next to butter chicken. You cannot possibly do both justice. There's no way in hell. It's impossible. There's no way you could possibly capture the rich tapestry of flavors from Indian cuisine while also managing to run a full smoker to get a proper rack of ribs. Sorry, I have strong opinions on food. Speaking of food, after this stream, yes, I have a story to read, Fred, but after this stream, I will myself be cooking Southern fried chicken with, oh god, Southern people get mad at me when I say this, it's boneless, okay? Sometimes you like boneless chicken done in a Southern fried style. It's okay. It's okay. You will all live as I eat this. Oh, gee. Maybe I'll post a picture to Twitter. I think that'd be kind of nice. But yes, I am Southern frying some chicken tenders. Not chicken fingers, not chicken strips, chicken tenders. I have had them marinating overnight in a buttermilk brine, with a little bit of pickle juice, a little bit of egg, and a good amount of hot sauce and Old Bay seasoning. And then I'm going to dredge them, and maybe double dredge them in my flour, mixture that I'm going to make with a little bit of starch in it to add that little extra shockingly crisp bits, as well as the starch. The flour itself will be mixed into, the brine itself will be mixed into the flour a little bit to get extra chunky bits, because the batter's always better the further along you get in the cook. And then I will have delicious chicken strips. Sorry, chicken tenders, to be technical. The only issue is with double that I find that unless you give it the proper amount of time after dredging, and there's no skin to bind it, you get the shell effect where the chicken inside is no longer attached to the dredge, which is why I put an egg in there. And also why I tend to let it chill. Exactly. Anyways. Yeah, that's my chicken strip method of choice. So I'll be having that right after, before I have work later to do. But so that I have time to cook. Oh yes, I don't yet have a smoker. It is actually one of my dreams. I would love to get a proper smoke going so I could make real brisket. Cause yeah, it's hard to get depending on where you are. So having constant access to it. None of that white sauce though. I'm not a white sauce man. I know a lot of people don't like barbecue sauce at all. I'm pretty okay on it. I like it on certain things. I don't know. A brisket sandwich with a little bit of barbecue can just be otherworldly. You hate barbecue? Well, you know what, Jay? I'll have to learn how to properly make barbecue. And then I'll have to make it for you. And you can, oh, you hate barbecue sauce. Oh, that's interesting. There's a specific type of sauce that's like a white barbecue sauce. And I'm not a fan of it on my barbecue. It's a little vinegary. I see what its purpose is. I get it. I don't hate it. But it's not my favorite sauce. Yeah. Yeah, it's a different flavor. It's just not my chosen flavor. I have a bit of a sweet tooth when it comes to my meats. It's also why I like a lot of Thai dishes, because they tend to sort of lean into that sweetness with meats. As well as Japanese dishes, because they do the same. So I do like a barbecue, like regular barbecue sauce. I also know there's different types of brown barbecue sauce. I don't want to get too much into that. But yes, I like a barbecue brisket sandwich. Oh, damn it! Now I'm pretty disappointed in my chicken. Maybe I'll make a chicken tender sandwich. Ooh, with grilled pineapple. And I could use that teriyaki sauce that I have. I could do it in a panko dredge instead. I'm very hungry. I need to read. You know what? We'll get to all of this. Once I actually get my cooking setup done. You know, my proper, like, cooking setup where I can do a hand cam and cook for you all. That's when we'll start this. And then we can discuss cooking as I cook. Yes, a Southern Hawaiian chicken sandwich. That sounds so good. Ugh. I don't have any lettuce, though. And I do sometimes like lettuce on my Hawaiian chicken sandwiches. Well, the pineapple does bring a decent crunch. Roll for sandwich. Oh, I think I've seen this man, but I can't remember anything about him. Anyways, oh god, I'm getting so distracted. I'm so hungry. I'll have my strips with a chip buddy. It's funny because they say but. Haha. Oh god, that's not a good atmosphere to enter into this story. I feel like I'm low on time. I don't want to cut the tail, though. I don't know if I have time for the full 15 pages. Perhaps there's a different... Would everyone be alright if I read something else instead? I do apologize. But I'll be less prepared for that one. Better go with the one that I know. Redfish, bluefish. Please, please, people. Please, tweet at me what you want me to read. I will read it for you. I will. I'll read it on stream, and we'll have a great time. I actually really might need to get started. I'm making a clip of that very soon. The Telltale Heart. I might need to do that, actually. Just because of time. I kind of got distracted by food. But maybe I'll do another. I might do that, Fred. I might actually have to take you up on that offer. Because, like, I can already feel my voice actually kind of going, and I only have a handful of hours until I need to be somewhere else, and cooking takes a while. But tell you what. Tell you all what. I'll do something special for you all instead. Why is it uploaded to? Anyways, I'll do something special for you all instead. Instead of reading our final horror tale, I shall read to you tonight something much lighter, something much more nice. At the request of Jay, I shall read Redfish, Bluefish by Dr. Seuss. Does that sound good? Does that sound fair? Does that sound exciting? Okay, let's get the spooky atmosphere done. We're done with that. Perhaps to my office. Yes, I think that's the right option. There. Now we're here. I know everyone was very excited for horror. And I know sometimes I've canceled horror streams before. They are the most strenuous on my voice. So if anything is wrong, I kind of have to take care of it. Just because I do have to talk like a lot. And it's kind of non-stop if I want to keep the flow of the story going. So instead we shall be reading Redfish, Bluefish. And Jay, you're not even reacting. I'm doing this for you. And we'll quickly... Oh, it's longer than I thought. That's fine. But let's get started, shall we? Ooh. Some music I think would be good though, don't you? Is the BGM playing? Good. Good. Now, if everyone's ready. This is uploaded to Genius, and it says it's Dr. Seuss, but it's on Genius, so I hope it's correct. It feels wrong to do it without the actual images from the book. One fish, two fish. Red fish, blue fish. Blue fish, old fish, new fish. This one has a little car. This one has a little star. Say, what a lot of fish there are. Yes, some are red and some are blue. Some are old and some are new. Some are sad and some are glad. And some are very, very bad. Why are they sad, glad, and bad? I do not know. Go ask your dad. Some are thin, some are fat. The fat one has a yellow hat. From there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Here are some who like to run. They run for fun in the hot, hot sun. Oh me, oh my, oh me, oh my. What a lot of funny things go by. Some have 2 feet, some have 4. Some have 6 feet, and some have more. Where do they come from? I can't say. But I bet they have come a long, long way. We see them come, we see them go. Some are fast. Some are slow. Some are high. Some are low. Not one of them is like another. Don't ask us why. Go ask your mother. Say, look at his fingers. 1, 2, 3. How many fingers do I see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has 11. 11, this is something new. I wish I had 11 too. Bump, bump. Did you ever ride a wump? You have a wump with just 1 hump, but I know a man called Mr. Gump. Mr. Gump has a 7-hump wump, so if you like to go bump, bump, just jump on the hump of the wump of Gump. Ha. Huh. Who am I? My name is Ned. I do not like my little bed. This is no good, this is not right. My feet stick out the bed all night, and when I pull them in, oh dear, my head sticks out the bed up here. We love our bike, it's made for 3. Our Mike sits in the back, you see. We like our Mike, this is why. Mike does all the work when the hills get high. Hello there, Ned, how do you do? Tell me, what is new? How are things in your little bed? What is new? Please tell me, Ned. I do not like this bed at all. Of all the things I've come to call, a cow, a dog, a cat, a mouse. Oh, what a bed. Oh, what a house. Oh dear, I cannot hear. Will you please come over near? Will you look in my ear? There must be something in there, I fear. Say, look, a bird was in our ear, but he is out, so have no fear. Again you can hear, my dear. My hat is old, my teeth are gold. I have a bird I like to hold. My shoe is off, my foot is cold. My shoe is off, my foot is cold. I have a bird I like to hold. My hat is old, my teeth are gold. And now my story is all told. We took a look. We saw a Nook. On his head, he had a book. On his hook, he had a book. On the book was how to cook. We saw him sit and try to cook, but a Nook can't read, so a Nook can't cook. So, what good to a Nook is a hook cook book? The moon was out, and we saw some sheep. Saw some sheep take a walk in their sleep. By the light of the moon, by the light of the star, they walked all night, from near to far. We would never walk. I would never take a car. I do not like this one so well. All he does is yell, yell, yell. Oh, it's Amity. Well, I guess she. I'll replace this. I do not like this one so well. All she does is yell, yell, yell. I will not have this one about. When she comes in, I will put her out. This one is quiet as a mouse. I like to have her in the house. Oh, that's actually should be him, because that's Romeo. Oh, do you want me to read slower? I'm trying to get the raps going, as it were. Here, I'll take it slow from now on. At our house, we open cans. We have to open many cans, and that is why we have a Zans. Zans for cans is very good. Have you a Zans for cans? You should. I like to box. How I like to box. So every day I box a gox. In yellow socks, I box my gox. I box a yellow gox in box socks. It's fun to sing if you sing with a ying. My ying can sing like anything. I sing high and my ying sings low. And we are not too bad, you know. This one, I think, is called a yink. He likes to wink, he likes to drink. He likes to drink and drink and drink. The thing he likes to drink is ink. Ink he likes to drink is pink. He likes to wink and drink and pink ink. So, if you have a lot of ink, you should get a yink, I think. Hip hop, I am a yop. All I like to do is hop. From finger top to finger top, I hop from left to right, and then hop hop, I hop right back again. I like to hop all day and night. From left to right. From right to left and left to right. Why do I like to hop hop hop? I do not know. Go ask your pop. Brush, 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 brush. Comb, 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 comb. Blue hair is fun to brush and comb. All girls who like to brush and comb should have a pet like this at home. Who is this pet? Say, he is wet. You never met a pet, I bet, as wet as they let this pet get. Did you ever fly a kite in bed? Did you ever walk with 10 cans on your head? Did you ever milk this kind of cow? Well, we can do it. We know how. If you never did, you should. These things are fun, and fun is good. Hello, hello, are you there? I called you up to say hello. I said hello. Can you hear me, Joe? Oh no, I cannot hear your call. I cannot hear your call at all. This is not good, and I know why. A mouse has cut the wires. Goodbye. From near to far, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. These yellow pets are called the Zeds. They have one hair upon their heads. Their hair grows fast, so they say. They need a haircut every single day. Who am I? My name is Ish. On my hand I have a dish. On this dish to help me wish. When I wish to make a wish, I wave my hand in with a big swish swish, and then I say I wish for fish, and then I get a fish on my dish. So if you wish to make a wish, you may swish for fish with this wish dish. Oh, that was hard. I need to try that one again. Who am I? My name is Ish. On my hand I have a dish. I have this dish to help me wish. When I wish to make a wish, I wave my hand with a big swish swish. Then I say I wish for fish, and then I get a fish right on my dish. So if you wish to make a wish, you may swish for fish with my ish wish dish. Oh, we're almost done. At our house, we play out back. We play a game called Ring the Gack. Would you like to play this game? Come down. We have the only gack in town. Look what we found in the park in the dark. We will take him home and call him Clark. He will live at our house. He will grow and grow. Will our mothers like this? We do not know. And we come to the end. I will actually allow this last story to be my outro. This last little bit of the bluefish to be my outro. After this, I will be saying goodbye to you all and going on to my day. So I will say now, before I continue, it has been so nice to see you all. I thank you all so much for your patience with me and my over-planning and under-delivering, a notorious habit that I seem to grow more and more, but one I hope to remedy soon. I hope you all have a lovely good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world. I hope you enjoy whatever's left of the time you have in the day. I hope you're comfy. I hope you're happy. So with that, I will wish you the final part of this story. And now, good night. It is time to sleep. But we will sleep with our pet sleep. Today is gone. Today was fun. Tomorrow is another one. Every day from here to there, funny things are everywhere.